What an absolutely glorious day. And no, this isn't quite as Mediterranean sky looking as you think it is, and I'll tell you why in a moment. So welcome to another video, an update video. It's been a long time, hasn't it, viewers? And there's been a great deal of change happened and things occurring in my life, and I wanted to update you. So after living on board Independence for just over 3 years now full-time here in Brundall, it's time to move on. I've bought a 3-bedroom detached property in Lincolnshire, and I'll be moving out and heading up there. It's an hour away from my mum, but it's still under 2 hours away from Stalham, Broad Ambition, Trixie, going to be kept. But obviously this Trader 535 going to be going on the market because there's just no point in keeping such a large boat just for the odd jolly on the Broads. It was built for going to sea and for extended periods of time on board, which made it ideal for me to choose it as an alternative to living on land in a home. So it became my home. And the space and the facilities on board has proved to be absolutely, well, a home from home, you know. I've got a washer dryer, a fridge freezer, a dishwasher, a king size bed, proper shower, comfy settee, armchairs, you know, all of the things that you would take for granted living in a house. But it is a boat and it's not secure, you know, it's on a marina. The marina might suddenly say off your trot. Unlike a home, boats generally devalue over time. And I just felt, well, it's been 3 years. I've really enjoyed it. But I want to change. So I originally looked around in the Norwich area for properties. And then thought, well, what do I actually want? What do I want to do in the next sort of 25 years of my life, you know? I'm going to be 42 this year. And I guess for a lot of people, when they're in their, you know, early 40s, they're at the kind of the crest of their chosen profession, their lifestyle. They've worked their way up, probably got married, got kids that are growing up, got a house, the car, the job, and it's just cruising along now and looking forward to, in sort of 25 years, retirement. And because I'm a little bit different to that, and so I guess most people, and I am being really generalistic here, don't like to suddenly change suddenly at this sort of stage in life, but I am. So the new house is about an hour away from my mum, so I'm closer to her, but it's still just under 2 hours away from the Broad. So keeping Broad Ambition and Trixie easy to get down here for trips out and stuff. So I think it's a really good compromise, good location. Just going to have to get used to the flatlands of Lincolnshire, and instead of popping down to Great Yarmouth for the coast, be popping up to Skegness. So why am I sat here in a Volvo V70 estate? Well, this is the next part of the video, because I need a practical, cheap car to shift a load of gear. And also, once I buy this house and move into it, unlike, you know, if you're living in a house and you're moving, you take this stuff with you, like your bed, maybe, you know, your fridge freezer, your dining room table, you know, your coffee table. Well, I haven't got any of that. So I have to go out and buy all of that afresh. So, you know, I've been to looking at the old DFS, Furniture Village, Sofology, acquainting myself with the different options available, looking at beds, carpets. Oh, it's a whole thing. I'm leaving Sheila, I'm probably in charge of interior decoration and that. Although we do have quite a similar sort of style outlook. So I bought a Volvo in order to lug stuff around. and I didn't want to spend much money on one because it could well be being used to take stuff to the tip from the house that I'm chucking out. So it just needed to be a load lugger for 6 months maybe. So I didn't buy this one because that would be too sensible. I bought 2 of them instead. Let's go and have a look at red and compare it to gold. And so here is the red Volvo V70. As you can see, it's an 04 plate. And I apologise, I've just started speaking now and the wind's getting up and that's going to annoy you. And when I walk on the gravel, that's going to annoy you. But anyway, basically, if I talk loud enough and you're patient enough with the wind, let's get this little segment finished. So, bought this car in a industrial estate on a Sunday afternoon off some chap off of Facebook for 600 quid. This has got the 5-cylinder 2.4 litre D5 engine. It's the Euro 3 model with no DPF, and it's allegedly the most reliable diesel of all of these Volvo diesels, not mine. So basically I went and had the car serviced because it has no service history, and when it was at the garage they gave me a ring to come in, and I thought, oh, okay, this is strange, not to collect the car, to talk to me about the car. And while it was up on the ramp, there was a horrendous oil leak under the car, and basically there is a core plug just behind the flywheel on these cars, and it can either start leaking or go catastrophically all of a sudden, and mine is leaking pretty badly. At cold it doesn't really leak, but once the engine's at temperature it's dripping out like, you know, drip 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 drip. That's how bad it is. In order to fix this, it costs about £5 for the part, but the gearbox has to come out. It's automatic, it needs to be drained, all of the ATF fluid. The bunch of other things need to come off the car as well. The engine needs raising up a little bit off the mounts, and then they can get to the plug and put an upgraded one that won't ever leak. That is estimated at 7 hours labour to complete the job. That's hundreds of pounds. There's about £600. That's the worth of the car to fix one oil leak. And there are a bunch of other issues with the car which I could live with, like the speaker doesn't work in the driver's door, the mirror cover here is missing, and the glass in the mirror vibrates when you're going at speed, and the rear wash wipe doesn't work, and the not the ATF, the power steering pump leaks. And the coolant is more water than coolant. It's got all scale and lumps floating around it and all sorts of problems. The headlights are like candles. I could live with that because I just wanted to buy this cheap £600 car, keep it for 4 or 5 months, move a load of stuff around and then get rid of it. But no. So I'm going to be selling it in a couple of days on WeBuyAnyCar.com. Now normally a good one of these you get about £750 to £800. I'm looking at basically making my money back, minus the service cost, which was £200 I'm not going to get back. I really like the interior on this. I haven't got the key with me, that was bad planning, but it is in wonderful condition inside, especially leather seats. These normally look terrible. 9 owners, I'm the 9th owner of this car. Even the air conditioning works. It's amazing. But the problem was I then had the taste for a Volvo V70, and I went back on Facebook Marketplace and I found this one in Dereham. This one was advertised at 1,300 quid. It had a Volvo service history. It had a MOT a week back with no advisories. The MOT the previous year had no advisories. And I thought, blimey. And I was looking at Volvos on Auto Trader, you know, from dealers, and they're 1,500 quid, 2,300 for similar mileage, similar age, but not as nice condition interior wise. So I thought, oh damn it, I'll go and have a look at it. So I went over to Dereham. This is the 2.4 litre petrol 5-cylinder. And I had a look around it and went for a quick test drive, and I thought, blimey, this works, because the steering, the upper suspension mounts are knackered in this, and that affects, there's a noise coming through the steering column, and it is just not being looked after, this one, mechanically. This one's been looked after mechanically, but the guy I bought it off, a young chap in his 20s, has decided to modify it. And so he's basically effed up the electrics. So he fitted an aftermarket radio. Oh. And so this is the interior on this one. This is black. I'm missing some trim down here. There's the aftermarket radio. And unfortunately it doesn't work. Not only doesn't it work, but he's wired it up with like brown parcel tape and gaffer tape, and taken the power feed off the back of the cigarette lighter, and then also powered the phantom power for the speakers off of that. Then the phono leads have touched together at the back of the unit. They've shorted out and blown the cigarette lighter fuse. Also, it wasn't grounded properly, and it was picking up the whine off the fuel pump. So the more I accelerated, then this hum would come through the speakers, and when I took off power, it would go to a lower note and reduce. So generally speaking, it's a disaster. And earlier today, I took the whole unit out to swap it over with the working one in the red Volvo. But between the 2000 to 2004 model year and then starting in 05, Volvo changed the fitment and it won't fit. So brilliant. I've got to go and get on eBay and find a suitable unit to put in, but then I'm going to have to basically wire it up, matching cables, to get it to work. But again, the interior on this isn't in too bad shape. I have spent some time refurbishing the leather, which was quite dry and cracked, so this is now looking much better and nice and matte, smooth and moist. Oh, don't you love that word? It's not dry and cracky anymore. Oh, look, here's the key for the red one. There's handy, isn't it? So yeah, I've done that in the back. It's obviously had a dog at some stage, and it's like in the back you can see the puncture marks here. But I didn't pay £1,300 for this. I paid under £1,000. So I thought, well, I've saved some money on this one, and this one drives better, it's smoother. Shit economy compared to the diesel. But on a run, I did a 140-mile round trip yesterday. I got an average of about 34.7 mpg around town. It's down in the sort of 24 mpg range. But the real problem I had with this car was the tyres. It came with these relatively new, 5-month-old Chinese budget tyres called Rapid P609s. And I thought, well, that's not going to be a real problem. It's a Volvo, a heavy old bus. Until I had to go for a quick drive in the wet. And my God, don't you realise it? Even in a Volvo, oversteer on a roundabout and just don't feel safe. I don't know how people manage. I mean, these are the cheapest of the cheap budget tyres, but even so. So I went and got 15% off some mid-range Bridgestone Turanzas. So they're well rated for wet weather. And I also had a full four-wheel alignment carried out, and I had the brake pads changed front and rear because, well, they were down to the backing material on the front. And then suddenly alarm bells start ringing. How is it possible this passed an MOT less than a fortnight ago? The handbrake doesn't really work. The brake pads were worn down. The garage tested the disc thickness, and apparently that is within spec still. So thankfully I've got away with having to have new discs all round. But generally speaking, when you're looking to the sort of the wiring issues and stuff like this, it certainly wasn't worth any more than I paid for it. Now I've got to get the handbrake adjusted. There's a tiny exhaust leak. Again, these weren't mentioned on the MOT as advisories. Exhaust leaks, handbrakes, brake pad thickness, you know, all of this is part of the MOT. And even the, although I've started restoring them here, even the lights were in pretty poor condition, and normally on an MOT there would be an advisory, you know, like to say that it's not a failure and it doesn't impede the vision or, you know, distort the beam pattern, but there's a product covering the lens kind of thing. So I'm actually in two minds now, because it had two faultless MOTs at the same MOT test station, and I've got the certificates for it. You can report MOT test stations anonymously, and I just feel we use the MOT as a kind of a really rudimentary basic safety thing, as, oh, the car's safe, or to look at how it's been looked after in many ways. And I checked all of that before I went and bought the thing, you know. So anyway, I need to get the carpets and the headliner valeted because I haven't got a wet vac and it does smell a little bit of wet dog. But yes, the thing is, I can't really deal with making do and just saying, oh well, I'm going to keep it for 5 or 6 months. It doesn't matter about what it looks like, because now I've thinking about having the paintwork just compounded, you know, 2-stage paintwork correction, because there's a load of swirl marks, but I really like the colour. It's like a champagne. The wheels, I really like the wheels. I'm thinking about having them refurbished and just gently putting some money in her, and you know, maybe having this sort of tinted to limo tint on the back, getting this restored and just making her look a little bit nicer. So that's the kind of ongoing plan, and it is a bit of a boat to drive, and I'm going to take you for a little drive and sort of show you how a Volvo is in a moment. But there we go, that's what's going on. So that's going soon, that's staying, this I love and I don't think I can ever part with, and I'm moving off of that. So not quite yet though, but it's all preparations. The house doesn't complete until hopefully the end of April. It was supposed to complete at the end of March, but COVID and all that is slowing the property market right down. So there you go, there's an update. I've been meaning to do this, and as ever I just choose to randomly do it in the wind on a phone, but there you go.